Alright, so welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to share my top 10 tips for designing beautiful funnels that convert inside of Clickfunnels. And this is part 1, and you'll find part 2 in the full course, Full-Time Funnel Designer, which is the community, the coaching calls, and 100 different videos plus on funnel design, funnel copy, email marketing, and getting clients. And so with that said, let's dive in and talk about these. This is kind of like a speedy course going through and quickly changing things and making it look better. You can see on my screen right now that we have this kind of boring page. And what I'll do is I'll transform this page from boring to amazing with my 10 top design tips. And so with that said, let's dive in. All right, so what we have right now is a pretty boring landing page, and there's not much to it. I mean, you can tell that some of the images, the graphics look great on some of them, but when you have them too small, you have the logo too big, you don't have enough spacing, you haven't removed the background, there's no background image here. The font is kind of boring as well. And there's just a lot of things that are off. Icons are too big. Some of these things I've done on purpose to illustrate what I'm trying to share with you, like padding here for an example. So I'm excited to kind of go through all of these steps with you. What I'm going to do first is I'm just going to make the logo way smaller because we don't need it to be close to that. We can have it at 100. We can have it at 130, 125. I think that will do. And I'm also going to add some more spacing here. Let's see what we have. We have 20 right now. I'm just going to bump that to 30. By the way, if I'm going fast, you'll find in the entire module videos on all these things. And you can slow it down, you can speed it up, and kind of pick and choose what you want to learn more of. I would love for this to be like that. I want it to be in the middle. I want text to be here. First, I'm going to add some spacing here. And I'm going to bump this up to a 20 margin, or maybe even 30, but we'll start with 20. This basic button, we're also going to do 30 on this one because it's more of like how it looks in between these two than the 20, 30, 25 ish. So we want some spacing there. It's also very boring. I want some effect, so I'm gonna elevate it when you hover over it, so it's gonna jump like that and elevate. And I'm also gonna, instead of giving it like a hard shadow, well, you can't see on that background, but I'm gonna put no shadow in and put some CSS to it and make it beautifully lifted up above the background so that, you know, it's highlighted and people see and they click it. Corners, I think 3 is okay. I'm actually gonna do square. So square, no borders, and now it looks clean. Okay, I'm still gonna do a lot to it. I'm also gonna change the color. I think we had down there, we had orange, so I'm gonna do it just like that. Now I can just duplicate these and move them down here, and I'm gonna have the same button throughout the entire page. So the next thing that I'm gonna do, and I don't necessarily always go in this order, but I'm just sharing with you like the different tips that I do on every single funnel, whether it's my own, my clients, or funnel redesigns for my students. You can see we still have the same spacing here, which is great. And now we can kind of go into the font. I want to change, first of all, when you're adding custom fonts right now in Clickfunnels, obviously you can go here and you can choose the different fonts, or you can browse the Google fonts. What I want to do though is add a custom CSS and just paste it in here. And there's more CSS videos in this module, so don't worry about this right now. I'm just going to copy one here from my other screen and move it in here and paste it. So now, if you're new to CSS and custom fonts in Clickfunnels or any other page builder, basically how this works is we have 2 fonts, one for these different elements. So icon, bullet list, button, subheadline, body text, which is everything else on this page except for the headline. And then I have one for the headline. You can see this title is headline, so I want this font, Recoleta, to be just for this element. So headline, I want this font. All of these others, I want this font. And so you don't have to worry about the code. You just copy paste the code that I have, and then you go in and change the asset, meaning the font that you actually want to use. So you're telling Clickfunnels, the editor, like, here's the CSS, which means here's what I want it to do. Okay, so I'm telling Clickfunnels, I want you to take this font and add it to this element. So when I'm going to do it for the button later, I'm going to tell Clickfunnels, I want you to change the button and I want to change the color, and I want the color to be gradient from this color to this one. So I'm gonna put the button, I'm gonna put the color hex code, and exactly just tell it, that's CSS in a nutshell, just telling the editor what I want it to do with one specific element. So if I want to add a shadow to a button, I'm going to find the ID, the code of the button, and say add shadow to this. And so it's not complicated if you just go through this, slowly and kind of start playing around with it. And so one thing, that you'll see here is this is a Geomanist. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's the font. So the font family is Geomanist. And so I'm going to add that in here as well. That with these elements, I want you to use Geomanist. So if I, for example, with headline want to change it, I could either move this up, the headline, to this button in the same bracket, or I could just change the font family to say Geomanist. And you could see it would change the font to the headline there as well. So now we have the same headline as everything else. So we're not going to do that though. We want it to be Recoleta. And so I'm just going to change that back. And there you go. So just going to make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Now for spacing. So there's two things that I could do. Okay, one, for an example, let's say I want to just move this down and add spacing. I could move it down like that, 50 pixels at the top margin. I could add some spacing below this, let's say 100 pixels at the bottom, and I could make this smaller, like 400 pixel wide. So now we have it right there. I'm also going to center this, and that could be okay. But what I want to do instead is add these new rows, like a 1-column row. And I just choose setting and desktop only, because right now, so I'm going to delete that again and show you. If I go to mobile, you'll see that Clickfunnels is already building the mobile as you build out the page, right? But we're going to optimize it and make it look amazing. So right now we have the logo in the middle. That's okay. We have the support email to the right. If I change it to the middle, it's also going to be here in the middle. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just make this one desktop only. You can choose mobile only here, or for both, all devices. I'm also going to add an icon to this. So email icon. There we go. Add a spacing to it as well. And what I'm going to do is in mobile is just look at, okay, the spacing is, it's okay, but it's also a lot. Like all this empty space, we want, as much as possible to be above the fold. So what I can do is I move this up to 15. So you guys know I use 15, 30, 50, 70, or 100 most of the time. So what I'm going to do instead is click add new row, column, and I'm gonna put this desktop only. So we have spacing on desktop, right? Just like I could do here and bump this down. So now we have more spacing here, and I could delete the spacing here down to like 30. I want to choose the spacing here as well to be as little as possible. So we'll do 0 because we have spacing here. So we don't need spacing everywhere. Now when I look here, you'll see that's good. We have some spacing, but not too much, and this is okay. Now what I could do is, some people like to clone this and have one for mobile only and one for desktop. I don't want you to do that, and here's why. All you have to do is go into this one. I'm gonna make it all again, and just choose the mobile size. So like I want the mobile to be 36, for an example. In that case, it's gonna be that big. So I'm gonna delete the mobile only version. And instead, this is the same element. So I'm just gonna choose 32, see what that looks like. I want it to be 3 lines. So I'm gonna go with 30. Sometimes I even go with 26 or 28. What you could do is you could do 30. And then for subheadlines or headlines down the page, as you scroll down, they could be like here, for an example. I think this one is 30. Then you could have these headlines, for an example, you could have 26. So it's like, these are headlines for these icons. So it's almost like they're subheadlines, but just gonna change this real quick. And now we're already, getting closer to where we wanna be. We have custom font. We can even make, custom, let me just kind of, the bold color would be orange, and I could highlight this, just click Command B or just click up here, and it's gonna turn that specific part to another color. So now we're highlighting that. But now what I want to do is I want to add a custom background. Now because I have this here, I can just copy that link and go up here and click there and paste it. And then I just go all the way to the right. There we go. And just hit one delete. So one, there's like, if you copy this link and you go up here to the top of your browser, you'll see that there's like a, what is it? Like a quote mark at the end of it. So you just need to delete that and then you get the same background from your landing page. But you could also just go here and, you know, upload the image and add it. Just make sure that you have it as a fill 100% width and not width and height, so it's like compressing the image. And so now you can see I don't want it to be orange anymore. I want this to be white because I can see it better. Button is okay, it's okay. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change this image because I don't want an image with a background. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is clipping magic. You can see an image here. All you do is you just click this right here, boom. We have, you know, separate videos regarding this, but I just want to show you real quick. And then minus what I wanted to cut out. It's also getting really good at using AI, so it can find all of this for you. And boom, found it. Preview, looks great. Here's the original with background. Here's without background. Just go to shadows, and sometimes it can have like a shadow automatically applied, so you just want to delete that. Or if you want one, you could, you know, reduce the opacity of it. Don't make it super strong, but you can have a shadow there if you want to. And then just make sure that you crop it so that it can be like here, for an example. If I crop it at right there, I also want to delete all of this empty space on the sides so that it's not, when it's uploading to Clickfunnels, so that it doesn't think that, oh, the image is this wide, and therefore making the actual image super small. And so now I would just click OK, and I could download it. Boom, there we go. So I have it already inside of Clickfunnels. So what I'm gonna do is just go here, type in Gusten, and boom, you can see I found the image right there. And I'm actually just gonna delete the image width, so I want it to be big. And now what I could do is I could just add like minus to the margin here to get it come up a little bit, minus 50. Sometimes you might have to also check mobile to make sure that it's not covering a button or anything like here. So then you would want to actually duplicate it, make this one mobile only, and then put that one to like 15 spacing, and then this one desktop only. So now what I want to do is I actually want this one to go down a little bit. But if I go here and I make this, let's say 40 top margin or 30, you can see that again, it creates a lot of space, right? So I'm going to go back and I'm going to remove that. And what I'll do is I'll just find a new or create a new element and go to divider. So I use this a lot, divider, and just choose like white color and then opacity to 0. And then you can choose this, like how big do you want it to be? Go desktop only, and then move this above this one. So now I can go here and I can choose how, you know, big I want the space to be, move this around. Let's say I want it to be something like that. And now on mobile, this one is still at the same place. So it looks great. And now I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm actually going to delete this as well. Make sure there's no spacing at the bottom, because I want this image to cover the next section. There we go. So now I think this looks clean, and I'm going to move to the next one. So then I'm going to go and grab a new code, and I'm just going to copy that. Go back into CSS, and I'm going to change my color of my buttons. So I'm going to paste that in. You can see I have a gradient button, but I don't want it to be blue since I have the background blue, and so it doesn't look great. What I'm going to do instead is give it a sort of like an orange. Just going to click here and get the code. I need this code right here. So 1, and I'm just going to go in here and change. So I'm telling again Clickfunnels like, hey, I want the button color, right, to be this background, pasting it in there. Okay. And then I want it to be, it goes from this color to this one, and the percentages are basically like where's the gradient shift starting and ending and that sort of stuff. So I'm just gonna change out all of the beginning, And if you're like, what are these codes, Gusten? You don't have to worry about them. You can see here that it's working. It's basically just for different browsers. And I didn't write those codes, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to be a coder to do this. So the next one, I'll just change to get a little brighter, maybe, or darker. Now we'll try this. So something like this. Just gonna grab that code, go back in, and paste those right there. So now you can see that we have a gradient button and the text says see funnel portfolio. Usually I want the font to be the same size as the text. So 20, I think this is 20. But if you want a bigger button at, you know, one place, like here for an example, then you could obviously make one that's centered. It's bigger. You can basically just turn this to 32, center, spacing is okay. One more thing that I do to my buttons is I make sure that the horizontal space is 40 and this is 10 or 15. Okay, so now here for an example, apply now to see if we're a fit, and just make this a little bit bigger as well. Awesome. So anyways, that's that. Now a couple more things that I want to talk about, which is super important and really increases the beauty of your funnel design. And I'll take this one for an example first. Icons, first I'm going to make these like way smaller, 100 or even like 70. I'll do 70 for these. So 70. And the next thing that you'll see here is kind of awesome. So instead of doing this, right, where you have like a background for these three, I'm just going to delete that. And what I'll do instead is add a shadow to it. So let me show you. I go to section. I add like 30 pixels of padding to all sides of that area. And I'm going to make it a white background and 5 pixel corner radius, no border. Okay. I grab this CSS, this ID of that element. I am going to paste this in here. Okay. And then I'm going to grab another code for a shadow. I can also add a code that says I don't want any borders on it. So borders 0 pixels. And then here's the shadows. And let me show you what it looks like right now. So it doesn't look great. You can see that this is a shadow that's mainly here at the bottom. So you could go in here and change this and sort of make it like darker. You can see this one makes it super dark, and play around with it. But what I've found to be the easiest way is to just find a new code for this only, the shadow. So I would use something like CSS-matic, and I'm just gonna make this like 7, 0, so it's in the middle. You can also make this one white if your section is, or row, the background is white in your funnel, so you can see what the shadow is actually going to look like. This is what most people's shadows look like, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this like maybe 10. And what I'll do instead is I'm going to blur it, something like that, and spread it like that. And then I just copy this. So let me show you now when I add it in here. Mark this and paste. And boom, now it looks way better. So if I now want to make it stronger, I just change it to like 2. So then it's 20% opacity, even 15. It could be 15. So 1, 5, 1, 5. There we go. I think that looks clean. So now what I would do is I would go in and find the next one. You can see it's hovering over this one. These are all on 30, but you can't see the number 30. So you gotta, this is a glitch, but I do this all the time, so it's okay. Square, you could choose that, change it to 5, grab this code, and same thing right here. You just put a comma and paste in the code. Okay, column, I'm gonna do one more just to make this one beautiful as well. And I want to share with you another thing as well. I told you this one was going to be good. So if you watched this far, I'm hoping that you've learned a lot. So comma, boom. All right, that looks clean. So way better than the other section with just like a plain background to it. I mean, you saw the previous one that I had, so didn't look great. Now I'm going to remove the padding at the top here to kind of get this closer. Maybe even this at the bottom as well. Doesn't have to be that crazy. 30, 15. One more thing. These right here. So let's say that you want to do something cool. Here's another design trick. First of all, I'm going to delete these because these are mock-ups. They can be that big, no problem. And what I'm actually going to do is I like when things overflow into, like, let me show you, 70 minus, like this for an example, or maybe even 50 is okay. Yeah. So you can see that it comes out on top of that one. I'm just going to add a column here. And there we go. Add some spacing and do the same for this one. Same for this one. And I'm going to do the same here. So you can see that usually when people do a mistake when it comes to padding or spacing, they do that all the time. So 30, 30, 30. And now that looks beautiful. So I would do that on all of them. Actually, we could still add a shadow to this button. And so we can just go into CSS. I can either copy this or type it in here. So I could just, boom, add that to it. .l button with a capital B. And I would add that in here because I'm basically, again, telling the editor, all these elements, I want you to do this, right? And you'll see in the other CSS videos, you'll see like with the headlines and with different multicolor or gradient, we're basically just adding the element. Here's the headline. I want you to add a background behind the highlighted keywords. And I want you to do it for this headline, and we're just pasting in, here's the element, here's what I want you to do with it. So there we go. Hopefully that was helpful. We have a page that now looks way different than the other one. If I preview this, you're going to see what it looks like before, and then you're going to see what it looks like after. So this is the before, and now I'm going to save it and preview it again. And gonna see if you guys see any difference. So we have this one, kind of boring. Just an image that's uploaded, no custom fonts, big logo. We don't really have any theme, like a branding to it. There's no consistency. And the images look off. Even the graphics are great. This looks like an amateur, like way too big icons. No custom background to it. The spacing, the padding here is off. These are way too small. And with this one, you can see that we have a person showing the face, but we remove the background so we can, just focus on the person and the copy. Done for you, beautiful funnel designs for personal brands. We build blah, blah, see funnel portfolio. This one, there's a nice little effect to it. Got a small shadow. We could have added a little bit more to the shadow, but this one looks clean right here. This one has, great padding, spacing, and these are bigger. I would do this for all of these three as well. And also, before you go, make sure that you smash the like button so that we can push this to more people, for the YouTube algorithm to reach more people. That inspires me to create more free trainings for you. And if you want to see part 2 of my secret hacks for designing beautiful funnels for different types of funnels and clients, and behind the scenes of actual real clients, how we get clients, how we attract them, how we build our personal brands, then close them, overcome objections, collect payments, onboard them smoothly with an automated funnel, and then build beautiful funnels that get results for the clients, make the clients happy, and so that they want to buy more funnels and also refer more people to us. Then make sure to check out the course Full-Time Funnel Designer. Link is in the description, $200 off when you enroll now. And it comes with a lifetime access to a software called Frameworks that I've also created. So with that said, I will see you in the next video. Peace.